So we're going to take a look at table to linear function level 2. So remember, as always, you do need to have, since it is a linear function, you do need to have y equals mx plus b. Okay, so you need to find the y-intercept, and you need to find the slope, and then you can write the equation. Okay, so to find the slope, remember, we did parentheses minus parentheses divided by, and if you do it that way, you see how it's weird, just fix it. So just come here, minus parentheses, wait, up here, make sure it's all under the same fraction, minus parentheses, then come right here and delete that. Okay, so it looks good. All right, then remember what goes on top, y, and on the bottom, x. So y on the top is 7, x is 1, so 7 goes with 1, 7 goes with 1, and 12 goes with 2. 12 goes with 2. So my slope is 5. So right now I have y equals, and my slope is 5x, and the only thing I need to find is the y-intercept. Now remember, the y-intercept happens, okay, and anytime you forget this, you can always just draw a graph and look, because I never remember. All right, so you draw a few lines, okay, so that you can see. Where is the y-intercept? This is the y, and this is the x, right? So this is the y, it crosses over here, right? It crosses over here, it crosses over here. At these points, so let's call that 5, let's call this -1, let's call this -5. At this point, if I was to write a coordinate over here, if I was to write a coordinate meaning x and then y, what would I write for x? At this point, x is always equal to 0, so this will be 0, 5. Over here, this will be x first, so 0, -1. Over here, this will be x first, which is 0, -5. So what you can see is x is always equal to 0. So at the y-intercept, x is always equal to 0. So you can memorize it, or every time you can draw a graph and look at it. So I'm looking for where x is equal to 0. Oh my gosh, I don't see it. But what I do see is I recognize a pattern. You see, x each way time you're going over here, you're adding what? 1, right? Every time you're adding 1. That means if I want to go towards 0, instead of keep going down, I'm going to go 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, I have to go what? Up. Now, if I'm going up each time, instead of adding 1, what am I doing? I'm subtracting 1 each time. I'm subtracting 1 to get to 0. So if I subtract 1, the opposite of this, I will get to 0, which means I find the pattern for my y and do the same thing. So each time, what am I doing here? To get from 7 to 12, I am adding 5. From 12 to 17, I am adding 5. Right? I'm adding 5 each time, right? So if I want to go backwards, I'm going to subtract 5. So if I only need to go back one more time, I'm going to subtract 5 from 7, which is going to give me 2. So my y-intercept is equal to 2. So that's 5x plus 2 would be what my answer is. Now, there are some questions that will be more complicated than this, and in a little bit, I will show you how to use, in fact, I am going to show you how to use a Desmos calculator. Why not? You're going to insert, so in these kind of questions, you can insert the table. So you go right here, and you hit table, and then you put in the values. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then 7, 12, 17, 22. 7, 12, 12, 17. What was that one? I think it was 24, 17, 22. All right, make sure you copy the table link correctly. All right, once you have that in, because I know it's a linear, why do I know it's linear? Because they tell me it's linear. All right, linear must look like this, right? To put that into Desmos, you have to use this notation. Where you see y and x, you have to put a sub 1. That's what it's called, a sub 1. So you're going to go ahead and put that in. So you're going to type in y sub 1, and if you just do y1, it does it for you. Then instead of an equal sign, so this is just how you use this calculator, you're going to put a squiggly line. And I forget what it's actually called, but look for the squiggly line. Maybe ABC. Yep, right here. Squiggly line is right here. So hit ABC and squiggly line is right there. Then M, then X, sub 1, so put the 1 after it, and then plus B, right? Plus B. All right, when you do that, it's going to give you your M and your B. So if the table is really complicated, you can just put the question in. So once again, you put the table in, you write y equals mx plus b, but you use sub 1 and not an equal sign, but a squiggly line. And it's going to give you what your slope is, which is 5, which makes sense, and your y-intercept was 2. So if the table is not as easy as this, in other words, it's not changing constantly on both sides, then go ahead and just put it in the calculator and see what it is. All right, so that will be my answer, y equals 5x plus 2. All right, so you hit submit. Perfect. All right, the next one that I needed to do was evaluate functions from a graph. All right, so in order to evaluate a function from a graph, remember you're just putting it in. All right, so this is f of what? F of what letter is this? X, which means this is x, right? So when x is 6, what is y? So I go to when x is equal to 6, right? Right here, x is 6, go to the graph, either up or down. I go to the graph right there. I go find out what y is. So y is negative 5. That's all it is. So y is negative 5. I'm going to do one more question too, just to make sure, because this is a very easy score to get. Next problem. Okay, blah, blah, blah. I'm doing this one. Doesn't matter what the question is. You're just reading out what it means. What does it mean to write a function? So again, they tell you y is f of x, right? See where the x is? It's inside the parentheses. That means this is x. So this is x, and they're asking you what y is. So go to x, go to negative 6. Go to the graph. So up or down. So I go to the graph right here. Then I go to y, and I see what my y value is. So my y value is negative 2. Okay, that's all you're really doing there.